We are sponsored by Mark Frankel for the safety, security, health, and success of the IDF, by Dr. Black for Doidi Meiri Mordechai ben Yisrael and the Yisrael Fisher for Avram ben Yosef Gross. The neshama should have an aliyah. They should be a Melitza Yeshara for their family, for all of us and all of Klal Yisrael. We start the new parak over here on Daf Tes Amid Beis. So Kohen Mashiach shechata v'achkach ova mimishichusai. If a Kohen Gadol sinned and then afterwards he was removed from being a Kohen Gadol because he became a Baal Mum, because he was old. V'chein nasi shechata, a king that sinned, v'achkach ova migdulasai, and he was dethroned, he was removed from his throne. Says the Gemara, says the Mishnah, it goes after the time that he did the sin. So therefore, Kohen Mashiach may be par if he made an erroneous decision and followed it. So he brings a bull, and the Nasi may be sorry. He brings the he-goat because it goes according to the time that he sinned. Mashiach she'ovar mimishichusai, a Kohen who was removed from his position, the Kohen Gadol was removed from his position and then he sinned. V'chein nasi she'over migedulasai, a king who was removed from his post, here is a difference. The Kohen Gadol, Kohen Mashiach, may be par. Because a Kohen Gadol remains a Kohen Gadol even after he's retired, even after he gets a blemish, and therefore, since he still has the status of a Kohen Gadol, he brings the special par Kohen Mashiach. But a Nasi, a king, if he's removed from his post, he's like a regular person, and therefore Kehedyot, if he would sin, he would bring like a common person, a Se'ira or a Kizbah, a female goat or a female sheep. So now the Gemara does some drasha gymnastics. Hashta yesh loimer. It seems to be that the pasuk, the Mishnah says things that are obvious. Hashta yesh loimer over mimishichusai. If the Kohen, even if he's removed from his post, and then he sins, still is maybe par, he still brings a par, then chata, if he sinned while he was still a Kohen Gadol, would you need to say it? If he sins after he is removed, he still brings a par. Then if he sins while he's a Kohen Gadol, then he should surely bring a par. It seems to be superfluous. Says, well, you're right. That would be superfluous. But Mishum de Ketani Gabi Nasi, since it has to say about the king, that if he sins once he's removed from his post, he doesn't bring the special sa'ir, he's Kehedyot, he's like a Kehedyot Maisei. Therefore, for symmetry, Tani Gabi Mashiach, it says about the Mashiach also that Chotav Akach over, that this is the wrong girsa, that even if he was over, V'achkachota maybe par. So the Gemara says, well, how do I know this? Minani Mili, how do I know that the Kohen Gadol, if even after he left his post, he sins, that he brings the par? How do I know this? Minani Mili, the Tana Rabbanan v'hikriv al chatasai, and he offers for his sin. Now the word al chatasai is superfluous because it already says that he sinned, so obviously he's bringing it for his sin. So why does it say v'hikriv al chatasai? Melamed shemevi chatasai misha'avar. It teaches us that he brings the special par even once he left his post. Now, I might think that I don't need a pasuk for this. Sheyachov aloi dinu, uman nasi shemevi b'shigis ma'isa. Madach the king, who doesn't have to have an erroneous psak and a mistake. He only brings for a mistake. Ein mevi chatase misha avar. He doesn't bring his special carbon once he's removed from his post. If he sins once he's removed from his post, he's like a commoner. Mashiach, who there's more specifications. Mashiach she'ein mevi b'shigas ma'isa. He doesn't bring just a mistake. El al helam davim shigas ma'isa. He first has to issue an erroneous psak. Surely, like koshrein, surely that he shouldn't bring if he was removed from his post. Talmud laima v'hikriv al chatasai. And he offers for his sin, and we learn from that superfluous comment, malamed shemevi al chatasai misha avar, that he brings the special carbon par, even if it was after he was removed from the position of Kohen Gadol. Says the Gemara, but once we see that the Kohen brings the special par even after, when he sinned, after he was removed from his post, so then we should say, by the Nasi, we should say a Kal V'chaimer. V'naisi nami Nasi mikal V'chaimer. Oma Mashiach she'ein mevi b'shigis ma'isa. Madach the Mashiach that doesn't bring for a mere mistake. He only brings if there was an erroneous decision with a mistake. Maybe chatas misha avar. He brings a sin, even if he sinned after he was removed from his post because of a mum, or because he was retired. Nasi shemevi chatas b'shigis ma'isa. The king who brings even without an erroneous psak, just with a mistake, shouldn't he surely bring his chatas even once he's removed from his post? Only if he was a sin when he was a nasi. Kishu nasi in, only if he sins when he's a nasi. Kishu hedyot, but if he sins after he was removed from his post, loi, he doesn't bring the special carbon, the sire, but rather he's like a commoner. Now, just getting underway over here on a beautiful Thursday night. We have a very special shir. Afterwards, we're going to have a for the Shabbos Slichas table. So if you're not in Fairways, if you're in Fairways, I'm going to speak about it on Shabbos. But if you're not in Fairways, it's a delicious thing to stay for. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. Amen. Says the Heilige Mishnah, Chotu ad sheloi nismanu. If, let's say, they sinned before they were appointed, v'achar kach nismanu, and then afterwards they were appointed, harielu kedyotis, we go according to the time of the sin, and since at the time they sinned, he was not a Kohen Gadol, or he was not a king, he's like a commoner, and they bring a regular se'ira or a kizbah. Reb Shimon says, well, it depends when they found out their sin. Remember, we're talking about something that was done b'shogeg, so it depends when they found out their mistake. Reb Shimon says, if they found out their mistake before they were appointed, then in such a case, harielu kedyotis. Then, chayavim. Now, chayavim over here means that they would be chayiv like a commoner. But umishin nismanu. But if they found out first when they were a Kohen Gadol or a king, Pturin. Now he holds it's potter from either one, because they're caught in betwixt and in between. Right? When they sinned, they weren't a Kohen or a Kohen Gadol or a king, so they don't bring the carbon of a Kohen Gadol or a king. But when they found out they were already a Kohen Gadol or a king, so they're not a commoner. So in such a case, they're potter. She'ezel nasi. What constitutes a king? Is it head of a shevet, or is it only the king of Klal Yisrael? So says the Mishnah Zeh Melech. It's the king of all of Klal Yisrael. Shenemar, it says in the pasuk, if he does mikol mitzvahs of any of the mitzvahs of Hashem Elokov. Now Hashem Elokov is extra. Who do you think whose mitzvahs we're talking about? So we say she'ein al gabav ela Hashem Elokov. It's talking about a person that the only person that's on top of him is Hashem. That's the king. If it's the head of a prince, of a shevet, there's somebody on top of him, the king. So when it says Nasi, it means the person who only Hashem is on top of him, and that's the king. Says the Gemara, Minani Mili. So here again, we're questioning that, how do we know that if he sins and then he's appointed, he doesn't bring the second special carbon? The Tana Rabbanan Ima Kohen HaMashiach Yecheta. If the Kohen HaMashiach sins, that means Prat LeKoidmos. That means that he only brings the special par if he sins when he's a Kohen HaMashiach. He doesn't bring for a past sin before he was the Kohen HaMashiach. Now the question is, why do we need the pasuk? V'aloi dinu. Oma nasi shemevi b'shigigis ma'isa. Madach, a king who brings just for a mere mistake. Ein mevi ala koidmos. He doesn't bring for a sin before he became a king. Mashiach she'ein mevi al helam davar im shigigis ma'isa. He only brings if you have an erroneous decision with a mistake. Surely. So therefore, once we already know by the king that he doesn't bring for what he did before he became a king, that's surely the case by a Kohen Mashiach. Why do we need the pasuk? Says, well, loy. Imamarta benasi. You know why he doesn't bring on Kohen Mos? Shekain ein mevi chatas misha'avar. Because he doesn't bring the sire if he sinned once he's removed from his post. Timer b'Mashiach, that even after he is removed from his post, he brings the special carbon. Timer b'Mashiach shemevi chatas misha'avar, and hayol mevi chatas misha'avar. Since he brings the sin when he's removed, since he brings the special carbon when he's removed from his post, I would think maybe yavi ala koidmos, that he should bring also for what he did before he was a Kohen Mashiach. Talmud Leimer HaMashiach yecheta. Only Chota Kishu Mashiach, only if he sinned once he's already a Kohen Gadol, maybe Kishu ahead yet, but when he sinned from before, Einoi Mev. Now, we also learn the same thing by a Nasi. Now we're going to have to see why we need a pasuk by Nasi, and we're going to go through.
What kind of sin is he talking about? What kind of sin is he doing?
We're talking about a sin that carries a penalty of kares if he does it b'shogeg. B'tanya nami gabe nasi ki gavna, and we learned by the nasi similarly. Asher nasi yekete, the king sins, the king will sin. Prat lekoidmos, that excludes what he did before he became king. So the question is, we should learn how to kal v'chaymer from the Kohen Gadol. V'aloi dinu, Oma Mashiach, that has the chumrah. Shemevi chatas misha'avar. He brings a carbon even if he sins after he was removed from his post. Einai mevi ala koidmos. He doesn't bring it for what he did before. Nasi she'ein mevi chatas misha'avar. He doesn't bring the special sor if he sins after he's removed from his post. Einai din shelo yavi ala koidmos. He surely should not bring for what he did before. So what do I need the pasuk for? Says, well, no, because then we swing the other way. Ma'ala Mashiach. The reason why maybe we're more machmir by we're more makel by the Mashiach, that he doesn't bring for what he did before he was a Kohen Gadol. That's because he doesn't bring unless he issued an erroneous psak and made a mistake. Ma'ala Mashiach shekein any maybe b'shigis ma'isa. He doesn't bring just for a simple mistake. Timer. Masha Enkain Nasi Shemevi B'Shigis Maisa, he brings for a simple mistake, and Hoyol Umevi B'Shigis Maisa, since he brings for a simple mistake, I might think he also brings for what he sinned before he became a Kohen Gadol. Yavi ala Kaidmois Talmud Leimer Asher Nasi Yecheta. Only when he was a Nasi that he sinned. Only what he did after he became a king, shechata v'harihu nasi, v'loi shechata, not when he sinned, v'ideo hedyed, before he was a king, when he was a commoner.
How does he come to this thing? I mean, how does he come to do this sin that's chorus? I mean, doesn't he say, I'm this, how can I do this? I mean, how does he...
No, we're talking about a mistake. He in the case of the king, he thought it was a piece of satma meat, and it turned out to be chaylev. He's a human being. He can make a mistake. Now, in the Kohen Gadol, it's more tricky. He had to make a mistake and rule that this specific animal is not a behema, it's a chaya, it's a beast, and therefore it's chaylev is mutter. And he had to issue an erroneous psak.
A king, he has servants, he has cooks. How are they? He's not going out and eating.
You're asking a kasha Maisi. He went on a trip with his wife. They had a honeymoon. Okay. You're asking a kasha Maisi. He made a mistake, or the Evan made a mistake and served them the wrong thing, and then realized it. Now, 5 lines into the wide lines, as I see the truant has showed up. I know he's very makbid on minutes. Days he's not makbid on. It is Marshall. Yeah, it is Marshall. At least he comes.
It's not me.
At least he comes well dressed for after his truancy. Let's welcome in over here A.B. Spry and Saba and Mel Zachter and Yaakov Warman, Irving Fishbaum, Shelley Zeitling, Yisrael Fisher, Menachem Yamansky, Dr. Guy, Dr. Black, Shalom Fogel, Mark Frankel, Yitzi Fuchs, and that Shimon Klein, Rebellia Yaffe, who gets a Mazel Tov. He's a Zaidi. He just had a granddaughter, Mazel Tov, and Ben Zion Cohn, and Berish Gesserman, Nachman Chapler, Marshall Castle, Baruch Ian, Naftali Jablin, Stephen Holtzman, Moshe Lehman, Yitzi Muller, Ilya Shutman, Abe Arbach, David Helfgott. Here in Shul we have Gedali Engel, Chaim Kramer, Michal Avram Chavin, Danny Vogel, Ruvain Shannet, and we are holding, as I said, 5 lines into the wide lines on Daf Yud Amud Aleph. I have an announcement. This is breaking news. In the breaking news, Sunday night has become a date night because my brother's making a wedding. Initially, I was going to give a late share, but then Gedalia pointed out to me that Monday's daf is only 8 lines, so we'll do on Monday Sunday's daf. So therefore, Sunday night there will not be a share. Sunday night there will not be a share. Sunday night there will not be a share. I know Marshall's getting a headache. I know. He can't even begin to grasp such a thing.
The wrong week to take off.
Now, Tana Rabbanan, Asher Nosi Yechete. Now maybe this pasuk is just telling us a divine decree that the king will sin. Now that's, by the way, that's not such a unusual statement. Rav Miller said that the Gemara says that Yishai, the father of David, and Kilov, the son of David, never sinned. On the other hand, David HaMelech sinned because he's king. It's very difficult to be a king and involved with so many people and not sin. Yet Rav Miller says that David HaMelech is mentioned over 1,000 times in Tanakh. Right? Because we have to learn for somebody that's involved with so many people how to behave. But I might think Asher Nasi Yecheta is a divine decree that the king is going to sin. Yachal Gezeira. Talmud Leimer Ima Kayin Mashiach Yechete. Now, by the Kayin Gadol, it says if he sins, Malahalon Likish Yechete. Just like over there, the sentiment is if he sins, Afkan Likish Yechete. So now we're going to have to see, but why over here does it say it without the Yim? Okay, we'll talk about that. Amar Yachal Gezeira. I might think it's a decree. Says the Gemara, Gezeira? Mehechi Tesi? Where do you see that there should be a decree that somebody should sin? Imrayin, Ashkechan. We find that. Dichsiv Nasati Neged Tzaras, and I will give my plague of leprosy, Bebeis Eretz Achuzaschem, in the lands of your possession. So that means that the Rebbeinu Shalom says it's a foregone conclusion that you will sin and you will have the mark of tzaras. That they're going to get leprosy. They're going to sin and get leprosy. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Reb Shimon says, when it says Munasati Neged Tzaras, it's coming to exclude tzaras that comes from external stimuli. It comes to exclude tzaras that comes from demons. Prat lenigei einzim. So, but the bottom line is, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold that. Ba'av Omer Rabbi Yehuda Besura Achanami Ema Gezeri Hilcha Ksiv Im. It says Im by Kaim Mashiach, and we learn out that the same thing is true by the Melech. It means if he sins. Says the Gemara, Ul Rabbi Shimon. Nigei einzin miloi metamu. Does leprosy that comes from external stimuli not contaminate? Vatanya, Odam kiyiyah, a person that has tzaras, minadiba ve'elach, comes to tell us that the tzaras is only a problem if he gets it after Har Sinai. If he had it before Har Sinai, it's not a problem. Says the Gemara, why do I need a pasuk? V'aloi dinu. It says tamei bezav v'tamei b'negaim. It says tuma by one suffering gonorrhea, biblical gonorrhea, one suffering from leprosy. Ma'azav, it's only minadiba ve'elach. It's only from the Har Sinai and on. Why does it have to say it also by leprosy? So the Gemara says, "Lo, imamat to bezav shekain einim tamei ba'oinus." The second re'iyah of the zav, the second issue of the zav, is only metame if it comes naturally. If it comes because he jumped, if he comes because he was scared, if it comes because he was ill, it's not matame. Timer midagaim, leprosy, shematamim ba'inus. And leprosy, on the other hand, is matame even if it comes from a external stimuli. Talmud Leimer, Adam Kiyiyah, therefore it says Adam Kiyiyah also by tzaras, only minadiba ve'elach. So the Gemara says, so you see that Nagaim are matame ba'inus. So Rava Amar prat lenigei ruches. You're right. If the Nagaim come because of a bang, because of a burn, then it is matame. But if it comes from demons, ruches, it's not matame. Rapapa Amar prat lenigei kshafim. If it comes from sorcery. Tan Rabbanon, asher nasi yechete, prat l'chayla. That comes to exclude if the king is sick. So the Gemara says, Mishum da'ava l'chayla itchalei minisiyusei, because he's sick, he's removed from his post. He could be king even if he's sick. And therefore, why should he be excused from bringing his special carbon sire? Amar Rav Avdimi Bachama prat l'nasi shenitztara. Oh, if the nasi is got leprosy, then he's removed from his post. Shenema v'yenaga Hashem es hamelech. Hashem struck Uzziah with leprosy. V'hi mitzayra ad yom ma'aseh. He was a mitzayra until the day of his death. V'yoshev bebeis ha'choshves. And he dwelled in the house of free. In a free house. Now this means, since a king is an eved, a king is a servant of the people, and it says that he dwelled in a free house, that means he was freed from his servitude. He was freed from his position. And Yosim ben Amelech alabayis. Yosim ben Amelech was in charge of the palace. Now, in the place of freedom, until now, when he was a king, he was a servant of the people. This is the proper way to look at the king. The king is a servant of the people. Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua have a Ozlei Besvinta. Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua were traveling on a boat. Bahadi de Rabbi Gamliel have a pita. Rabbi Gamliel had with him bread. Bahadi Rabbi Yeshua have a pita v'sulta. We'll see Rabbi Yeshua had foresight, and he thought that maybe the boat would be delayed, so he carried the rations of bread, but in case they were delayed, he also carried flour. Shalom pite de Rabbi Gamliel. Unfortunately, they were delayed. Rabbi Gamliel finished his provisions, and samach al sulte de Rabbi Yeshua. He had to dip into the flour of Rabbi Yeshua. Amalei, so Rabbi Gamliel said to Rabbi Yeshua, Mi havi yoda da'avalon ikuva kulei. How did you know that we would be so delayed? The isei sulta, that you brought with you flour. Amalei, so he said, koichev echad, there's one star, l'shivim shana oila. There's one star that rises once in 70 years. Umase es asapon. And the sailors that travel by the charting of the sky, they see this star and it throws them off. V'amarti, and I said to myself, knowing the calendar, V'amarti shema yale v'yisa isanu. It might come and throw them off, and we might get delayed. Amalei, Sir Gamliel said, look, I'm traveling because of politics. I have to deal with Rome. But you're obviously traveling for business. Amalei kokach b'yodcha v'ata oila b'svina. You have such incredible knowledge, and you have to go on a boat for business reasons? Amalei ad she'ata tama olai, Sir Yeshua said, more than being amazed at my plight, tama al shnei talmidim sheyesh lach b'yabasha, these two disciples that you have on dry land, Rabbi Lazar Chisma, Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada, they are phenomenal Talmidei Chacham. Sheyoidin l'shar kama tipus yesh b'yam. They could calculate how many drops there are in the ocean. Their knowledge is so vast. Ve'ein lehem pas lechol, they don't have bread to eat. V'loi beged lulbosh, nor clothing to wear. They're in utter destitute. They're utterly destitute. So nasan daitoi lo yeshivam barosh. So therefore he planned to give them a position in the head of the academy so that they could have parnasa. Kisha'Allah, when they got to the dry land, shalach lehem, Rabbi Gamliel sent to them, v'loi bo, they didn't come because they wanted to be humble. Chazav v'shalach ubo, he sent to them again. Once the Nasi sent to them twice, they came. Amal lehem kimidumin atem shesrarani naisin lachem. Do you think I want to give you greatness? And that's why you shy away from it, because it's of humility? I don't want to give you grace. I don't want to give you greatness. I'm giving you servitude. You're going to become a servant to the people. From today, Tia Eved Lo Amazeh, a servant to these people. Taner Rabbanan, 3 lines from the top of Daf Yud Amud Beis. I know Mark is getting nervous. He doesn't like easy Gemaras. Mark, not everything could be Yavamis. I'm sorry. Not everything. Taner Rabbanan, Asher Nasi Yechete, the Nasi sins. Now, Asher could be short for Ashrei, fortunate. Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Ashrei Adar Shanasi Shaloi Mevi Karban al Shigigasai. Fortunate is a generation that the king is humble enough to bring a carbon for a mistake. You know, a king it's not natural for a king to be humble. Now, if a king models that behavior, then the people will follow. If Nasi Shalai Mevi carbon, if the king brings a carbon for his mistake, then we don't need to question what the commoner will do. The commoner will follow the king. V'im al shigigase mevi carbon, if he brings even for a mistake, he'll surely show contrition if he does something deliberately. If you're telling me that wherever it says Asher, it means Ashrei, what are you going to do with the following psukim? That which you deprived from the Kodesh, Yishalem, if somebody deprives something from the Kodesh, is that Ashrei? And furthermore, Ubi Yeravam ben Nevat, it says he sinned and he caused Klal Yisrael to sin. Does that Asher Chas V'Shalom mean fortunate? Amazes a Madiach? Hachanami the Ashrei Adaru? Says you're right. Normally Asher does not denote Ashrei. Just over here it's superfluous. Says the Gemara, Shani Hacha the Shani Krab Diburei. The pasuk said in the other places Im. And here it says Asher, so from the deviation we learn out Ashrei. Dorish Rav Nachman bar Rav Chisda, Rav Nachman bar Rav Chisda taught, Mai d'chsiv yesh hevel asher nase ala oretz. There is a certain vanity or a futility that's done on earth. Asher yesh tzadikim, there are righteous people, asher magia aleim k'maiser rishon, that they get like the wicked. V'yesh rishon, and then there are wicked people that it happens to them like the righteous. V'yesh rishon, asher magia aleim k'maiser tzadikim. Amarti Shlomo HaMelech says shegam zeh hevel. So says the Gemara on this pasuk, it's a famous pasuk. Ashreyem l'tzadikim, fortunate is the righteous, shemagia aleim k'maiseh risham shaloylam haba, that they get in this world punishment like the wicked get in the next world. They get it ba'olam hazeh, because that clears away their sins in this world so that they could have a full olam haba. And oilohem l'risham, woe to the wicked, shemagia aleim k'maiseh tzadikim shel olam haba, that they get wonderful treatment like the righteous people in the next world, ba'olam hazeh, because that cleans them dry and then they get nothing in the next world. So Rava doesn't like this pshat. Rava says, Ashrei tzaddikim that have to suffer in this world. Why? They can't be tzaddikim that get both this world and the next world. What we call shtei shulchanais, or what the Baba Rebbe used to refer to as bezel baba, in this world and the next. Amar Rav atu tzaddikei aklei trei alma, if they get good in this world and the next world, mi sani lahu, would that be bad? So Rava therefore explains it differently. Rava Ashreim letzadikim shemagia aleim kemaisa risham shel olam hazeh, that they get like the wicked in this world, ba'olam hazeh. Fortunate is the righteous that have a benefit like the risham that get good olam hazeh. Fortunate is the righteous that they also get good olam hazeh, besides good olam haba. And oilahem l'risham shemagia aleim kemaisa tzadikim shel olam hazeh, and woe to the risham that there comes upon them like some tzadikim that get punished in this world in order to get a full olam haba, that they get punishment even by olam hazeh, even in this world, that they don't get either this world or the next world. Rav Papa Rav Huna B'Rei Rabbi Yeshua also the Kami de Rava. Rav Papa and Rav Huna B'Rei Rabbi Yeshua came before Rava. Amalahu ukimton b'mesech plan and mesech plan. Did you achieve excellence in Yavamis, in Erevin? Amalei, yes. It's asrisu persa. Do you have a little wealth in this world? Amalei, yes. The Zavn and Katina Dara, we bought a small parcel of land, and it developed, and we have some wealth in this world. Kari alayu ashreim letzadikim. Fortunate are righteous. Fortunate are righteous that they have like a risham, even a good olam hazeh, and while they're in olam hazeh, that they have shtei shulchanos. Amar Rabba Bar Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mai dichsiv, what is that which is written? Ki yesharim darkei Hashem, upright is the ways of Hashem. V'tzadikim yelchu bam, the righteous walk in them. U'poishim yikashul bam, and the sinners stumble upon them. So says the Gemara, Mashal shnei bnei adam shetzalu pischayim. They roasted their korban pesach. Echad achlu l'shum mitzvah. One eats to fulfill a mitzvah. Ve'echad achlu l'shum achila gasa, and one eats because it's a cowboy steak. That's from the Pesach, a cowboy steak. Zeh she'achlu l'shum mitzvah tzadikim yelchu bay. That's the righteous go. Zeh she'achlu l'shum achila gasa, one who eats because it's a cowboy steak. Or poishim yikashulbam, the sinners stumble. So Rish Lakish says, even if you don't do a mitzvah in a mufcher that you don't have in mind, mamish, completely l'shem mitzvah, but is that considered a stumbling? Amalei Rish Lakish, Rasha Karasai, if he eats it because he likes meat, nehei deloyav mitzvah in a mufcher, since he's not focused all on the mitzvah that Hashem passed over us when we were in Egypt, but Pesach Miloi Kachel, he still ate a korban Pesach on the night of the 15th. He's not a Rasha, he's not a Pesheya. Ella, Mashal l'shnei bnei Adam, Zeh ishtoi v'achai ima babayis. You have two people, Chatzkel and Shmuel. We'll leave Marshall out of this. Amalei Reish Lakish says the Gemara, rather, Elamashal shnei bnei Adam zeh ishtoi v'achayse ima babayis. Chatzkel has his wife and his sister. V'zeh ishtoi v'achayse ima. Shmuel has his wife and his sister. Babayis echad. Nizdam loi echad nizdam loi ishtoi. Chatzkel slept with his wife. V'echad nizdam loi achayse. And Shmuel slept with his sister. It was a dark night. That's tzadikim yelchabay. The one who slept with his sister, that's a poishim yikashelbay. Says the Gemara, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about two people doing the same thing. One is righteous and one is a sinner. Here they did different things. Midami, anan kamin and chod derech. We're talking about two people that do the same thing. Here, one slept with his wife and one slept with his sister. It's two different things. That's not pshat in the pasuk. We know the Lot's daughters, thinking that the world would be destroyed, they slept with their father, L'Shem Shemayim. Lot, on the other hand, when he slept with the second daughter, he had a promiscuous intent. Not the first daughter, but the second daughter. Says the Gemara, Light and his two daughters. They that attended l'shem mitzvah, tzadikim yelchem ba. The righteous walk with them. Hu shenischaven l'shem aveira, he that even though he know that he made such a mistake, still drank wine the second night, u'poishim yikashel ba. Says the Gemara, well, who says maybe he also had in mind for mitzvah? V'dilmahu na'ami l'shem mitzvah mechaven. Says the Gemara, it says by Lot, a pasuk where everything is a symbol of promiscuity, licentiousness. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, kol pasuk hazeh l'shem aveira nemar. The whole pasuk denotes znus, denotes immorality. It says, Vayisa Light raised his eyes, and it says by the wife of Potiphar, who had lewd thoughts for Yosef, Vatisa Eshes Adoinav es Eineha. She raised her eyes immorally towards Yosef. It says that Lot raised es Einav, and the words eyes takes us to a reference to Shimshon, who wanted to take a woman. Vayayim Shimshon oisa kachli, take her for me, ki hi yeshara be'enai. So again, it refers to wanting a woman. Vayar, it says, and he saw, and it says saw when Shechem had immoral wants from Dinah. Vayar osa Shechem ben Chamorah. So there also it means lust. As kol kikar Yarden, the entire plain of the Yarden, it says by Lot, ki ba'ad isha zaina, for a harlot, ad kikar lechem, a kikar of bread. So again, it's a phrase of harlotry. Ki chula, speaking about immorality, we welcome in Barry. Ki chula, says the pasuk, ki chula mashke, it was all irrigated, and this lashon of beverage also it says by harlotry. Elcha achrei ma'avai, I follow my lovers. Noisni lachmiu mei my tzimri upishti, those that give me my bread, my water, my wool, my linen, shamni v'shikuyai, and my oil and my drink. Says to him, but wait a second. V'amein is honest. What are you picking on Lot? He was drunk. He was shikra keshikra the light. He didn't know what he was doing. Tana mishum Rabbi Yisbar Rabbi Chuni Laman anokit al vav shebekuma shel bechira. Why is there a nakuda on the vav of when the older daughter got up? Laimalach, to tell you shebeshichpa lo yada. When they lay down, he was completely clueless. It's completely clueless. He was dead drunk. Aval bekuma yada. When they got up, he realized that he slept with his daughter. And once he realized that he slept with his daughter, he should have been careful the next night not to drink. Says the Gemara, what should he have done? What happened, happened. Says the Gemara, nafkamina de lefanya achrina, for the next night, he shouldn't have drunken. He shouldn't have drank. What do you want to ask?
Nicely, he stayed righteous the whole time he was in Sudan.
Yeah, so what?
It makes it like he wanted to go to Sudan, he only had sinful thoughts, He stayed righteous.
No. The bottom line is that he went to downtown Burbank. He shouldn't have gone there.
But he stayed righteous.
He first of all, he lost his wife and all his married children because he went to an environment that was not good. You don't do that. It's a very big lesson. He paid a extremely terrible punishment. Now,
Barry, you're safe. He said immortality, not immorality. I heard it. Still covered.
right, clean your ears, Light. Marshall. Now, Dorish Rabbah expounded, Maidich siv och nifsha mekiryas ois, a brother who rebelled, leaving a fortified city, he separated from Avram, umidyonim kivriach armain, and the fights, Yonim is fights, are like the bolts of a palace. It's like the locks of a palace. Och nifsha mekiryas ois, he was foolish, he left Avram Avinu, which was a fortress. Zeloit shepirish me Avram, he was in the safest place in the world. Umidyonim kivriach armain, he caused there should be a separation between his family and Klal Yisrael, like the locks of a palace, because Ammon and Moav that would descend from him and his daughters, shehitul midyanim ben Yisrael Ammon, between him and Klal Yisrael and Ammon. Shenema lo yavai Ammoni ma'avi b'kal Hashem. They can't marry into Klal Yisrael. Darish Rav Avi saying Rav Yitzchak, Maidich Siv, what is that which is written? L'saiva yavakesh nifrad, for desire, and you see Gedalia, it says l'saiva yavakesh nifrad. No, it's he separated because he had his eyes on a place that you could live free lifestyle. L'saiva yavakesh, the one who separated. And B'kol Tushia Yizgala, his blemish was revealed in front of everybody that learns Torah. L'saiva yavakesh nifrad, zeloit shenifrad ma'avram. That's light that's separated from Avram. B'kol Tushia. Tushia means Torah, because Torah is mateshes koichei shalom. B'kol Tushia Yizgala. In all the Torah, his shame was revealed, exposed. Sheniskala kloinoi bebate knessia is bebate midrashes. That nan Ammoni Moavi, his descendants are asurin, all males are aser Israelim forever, even past 10 generations. Now, not everybody that engages in extramarital relations is wicked. Tamar had an extramarital fling, and Zimri, the Nasi of Shimon, was Mazana. Tamar Zinsa and Yatzim Mimena Malachim and Nevi'im. From her came, from her children, Zerach and Peretz, came kings and prophets. Zimri Zina, and because of that, 24,000 of Klal Yisrael died. Naflu Kama Revavas Mi Yisrael, actually much more than 24,000, as Rashi tells us before Parshas Pinchas. Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak, Gedola Averu Lishma, Mitzvah Shalai Lishma. Greater is a sin that's done for the sake of heaven than a mitzvah that's done without altruistic designs. Shenemar Tevayrach Menashim Yoel, blessed is from women is Yoel, Eishes Chever Akeni, the wife of Chever Akeni, Minoshim Ba'oil Tevairach. She is blessed from the women in the tent. That means that she's as blessed as Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, the women of the tent. Ma'aninu Noshim Ba'oil, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. And that means that even though she slept with a guy, Sisra, 7 times, that's a big affair to sleep with a guy, but since she did it lishma to save Klal Yisrael, she would take the peg of the tent and impale him and kill him and bring Yeshua's Klal Yisrael. So the Aveira Lishma is greater than a mitzvah Shaloi Lishma. Says Gemara, well, mitzvah Shaloi Lishma is not bad. Ini? We should serve Hashem even Shaloi Lishma. Shemitayich Shaloi Lishma ba Lishma. From Shaloi Lishma we come to Lishma. Says the Gemara, Eima kemitzvah Shaloi Lishma. Say that an Aveira that's Lishma is as good as a mitzvah Shaloi Lishma. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, you should know that Sheva Be'ilas Bal Oisa Rasha Ba Oisa Shah. He slept with Yoel. He had 7 times relations with her. That's how much she was Meiser Nefesh in order to save Klal Yisrael. Slept with him 7 times. Now we know this because of the lashon of the pasuk. It says Bein Ragleha, between her feet, Kara, he kneeled. Nafal, he fell. Shakav, he slept. That's 3. Bein Ragleh Kara Nafal, kneeled and fell. That's another 2. That's 5. Kasher Kara, as he kneeled. That's 6. Sham Nafal, there he fell. Shadayid, dead. So it says 7 languages to tell us that she slept with him 7 times. Says the Gemara, but didn't she benefit from sin? The pleasures of the wicked are reprehensible to the righteous. She derived no pleasure from the amount that she loathed this monster coming into her. Now, says the Gemara, just to establish this, a person should do Torah and mitzvahs, even Shaloi Lishma, because of Shaloi Lishma, you will eventually gravitate to do it for the right reason. Now, we do this. And when the children are young, we offer them a prize. And the hope is that when they get older, they don't learn for a prize, they learn to be Mekayim the mitzvah v'dibar tabam. But you could start Shaloi Lishma. Shebeschar mem beis karbanas sheikriv balak karasha, because of the 42 karbanas that Balak offered, even though he only offered to save his land from the Jews, Zacha v'yatzis memenu Rus. He merited to have Rus. Damar Rabbi Yosef Beb Chanina, Rus bas benai shel Eglain. Rus was the granddaughter of Eglain, who was Ben Benai, the grandson shel Balak Melech Moav. Yaakov, what time is Daf Yomi Matzi Shabbos?
Matzi Shabbos is 9:50.
Okay, so you hear that we broke the 10 o'clock barrier. Matzi Shabbos, Daf Yomi is 10 to 10 again, and Shelley and Irving will post this. Sunday night is no shir. Sunday night is date night, because my brother is making a chas on a Sunday night, so Sunday night is no shir, and Monday will, because it's only a few lines, the Monday's daf, so we'll learn Sunday's daf on Monday evening. thank you very much for joining us. By the way, Mark Frankel is looking for a partner, a co-partner, to sponsor with him Masechta Zvachim. So if anybody wants to do a $500 job together with Mark, please let me know. And everybody should have a great Shabbos. And now we're going to have for the Shabbos table.